Since Emily lost her mother a few years ago, her stepmother has made life unbearable for her while her father watched in silence. Emily stood quietly by the doorway, her eyes fixed on the dining table where Thomas and Rachel were laughing, between mouthfuls of food. Her stomach growled, but she tried to ignore it. She stepped forward, her voice soft but trembling. "Mom, please, what about me? I want to eat too." Amanda didn't even look at her at first. She calmly wiped her hands on a napkin, then turned, her expression cold. "The food your father provided, right?" she asked sharply. Emily nodded slowly, unsure where the question was leading. Amanda folded her arms. "Then tell him when he gets back that you're hungry. Maybe he'll come up with a plan for how you're going to eat. But for now," she pointed at the table, "this food is only for Rachel and Thomas. There's nothing here for you." Thomas looked down, uncomfortable. Rachel glanced at Emily with a smirk but kept chewing. Emily's lips quivered. She opened her mouth to speak again but said nothing. She turned around slowly, her chest rising and falling with silent pain, and walked away. As soon as she entered her room, she closed the door gently behind her. Emily wept quietly, her heart heavy. Her mother had died years ago, and her father later bring another woman he had kids with at the other side of the state. That is unknown to her own late mother, Amanda, a woman with 2 children. Since then, Emily had known only rejection. Amanda cared for Thomas and Rachel like royalty, but treated Emily like a stranger. She was always left out, unloved, and forgotten. Tonight's hunger was just one more reminder that she didn't belong. Curling up on the floor, she wished her real mother could come back. Days passed by. Amanda sat quietly, her thoughts twisted with bitterness. She glanced toward the hallway where Emily had disappeared, her lips tightening. Amanda muttered to herself, "I must act fast before Richard finds out he's not the real father of Rachel and Thomas, and that girl Emily. As long as she's in this house, I will never have peace." She had tried everything to make Emily feel unwanted, but the girl still stayed, still breathed, still existed. Amanda needed something final, something that would force her husband to chase her out for good. Then the idea hit her like lightning. She picked up her phone and dialed. "Hello?" came Joseph's voice. "It's Amanda," she said coldly. "I need you to do something for me." "What is it?" "I want Emily gone. This time. For good." Joseph was silent. "I need you to wait for her," Amanda continued. "She passes through that lonely street every evening. Don't talk to her. Don't pretend. Just do it. Make it look like a random attack. If she ends up pregnant, her father will throw her out himself." Joseph's tone darkened. "You're asking for something big. You'll be well paid," Amanda snapped. "Just don't mess it up." A heavy pause filled the line. Then Joseph replied, "Consider it done." Amanda ended the call, her fingers trembling not from fear but excitement. "This house," she whispered to herself, "will finally be free from that cursed girl." One afternoon, the gate creaked open as the 3 of them walked into the compound. Rachel, Thomas, and Emily. They had barely dropped their bags when Thomas turned sharply. "Hey, you girl," he barked, pointing at Emily like she was a servant. "Go and wash our clothes. All of them." Emily blinked, surprised. "But we just got back. Did I ask for your opinion?" Thomas snapped. Before Emily could respond, Rachel tossed her bag on the ground. "And don't forget to cook," she added with a smirk. "We're hungry? Better make something sweet this time, not that nonsense you made last week." Emily looked from one to the other, her heart sinking. "But I haven't even changed my do you think we care?" Thomas cut in. "You think you're one of us? You're just a burden. Be grateful we'll let you stay here." Rachel chuckled. "She's always acting like a princess when she's just a charity case." Emily clenched her fists, biting her lower lip to stop herself from speaking. Her eyes stung, but she refused to let the tears fall. "Not this time, move it." Thomas shouted, snapping his fingers. "If that food isn't ready soon, you'll see what happens." They both pushed past her, laughing as they walked inside. Leaving Emily standing there alone, her legs felt heavy, but she turned and walked slowly toward the backyard. She looked at the pile of dirty clothes and then toward the kitchen. Every step she took felt heavier than the last. They had no idea what she was going through. No one cared. Not even her father, but deep inside her something was shifting. A quiet fire, a silent strength. One day, things would change. One cool evening, Emily walked quietly along the narrow path, heading home from her friend's place. Her eyes were tired, her hands held a small book. It had been a peaceful afternoon, one of the few moments she felt like a normal girl. But peace wasn't meant to last. As she turned into a lonely corner, a figure stepped out from behind a tree. Joseph. Before she could react, he grabbed her arm roughly. "Let me go," she screamed, struggling, her book falling to the ground. Joseph didn't say a word. He dragged her toward the bushy side of the path. Emily kicked, cried, begged, but no one was around. Her voice echoed, but no one answered. Her strength couldn't match his. Her tears streamed down her face. She kept shouting, hoping someone would hear, but the street was empty. After a few minutes, Joseph stood up and ran, disappearing into the trees without a word. Emily lay on the ground, trembling. Her clothes were dusty, her heart racing. She slowly sat up, her body shaking from fear, confusion, and pain. Her palms scraped, her knees bruised. She looked around, hoping it was all a dream, but the silence confirmed it wasn't. With trembling legs, she picked up her book and began walking slowly, tears mixing with dust on her face. What had just happened? Why her? What had she done to deserve this? She didn't know where the strength came from, but she kept moving one weak step at a time. Behind her, as she walked home, the trees swayed gently, hiding a secret no one would believe. Joseph stepped out onto the main road, pulled out his phone, and dialed Amanda. "It's done," he said bluntly. Amanda's voice came through, calm and sharp. "Are you sure? She won't forget what happened, just like you wanted." "Good," Amanda replied coldly. "Now, let's wait and see what happens next." She ended the call with a wicked smile, whispering to herself, soon she'd be out of this house forever. The gate creaked as Emily stepped into the compound, her legs barely holding her up. Her face was pale, her eyes distant, and her hands trembled as she clutched her torn book. Dust clung to her skin and her lips quivered, but she said nothing. Amanda, seated on the veranda with a glass of juice, noticed her instantly. Her eyes scanned Emily from head to toe. "What happened to you?" she asked, pretending to sound concerned. Emily paused, her throat felt dry. "I'm fine," she whispered, barely audible. "You don't look fine." "I said I'm fine," Emily repeated, forcing a weak smile. She didn't want more questions, she just wanted to disappear. Without waiting for another word, she slowly walked past Amanda and headed to her room. The door clicked shut behind her. Inside, she dropped her book and collapsed onto the bed. Her arms wrapped tightly around herself as if trying to hold the pieces of her heart together. Her mind replayed the terrifying moment again and again. Joseph's face, his grip, the helplessness, the silence. Tears rolled down her cheeks, silent and steady. Why? Why would someone do this to her? She stared blankly at the wall, struggling to breathe through the pain in her chest. The world suddenly felt unsafe, even inside her own home. Outside her door, Amanda moved quietly down the hallway. She stopped near Emily's room and leaned in, peeking through the narrow space in the doorframe. There Emily sat curled up, broken, lost in thought. Amanda watched silently for a moment, her eyes cold and unmoved. Then, satisfied, she turned away with a faint smirk and walked down the hallway, her footsteps light. Everything was going according to plan, and Emily had no idea what was coming next. Since that day, Amanda's eyes never left Emily. She watched her every move like a hawk waiting, hoping for a sign. Her heart danced with silent victory each time Emily looked tired or moved slower than usual. Days passed, then came the moment she'd been waiting for. The whole family, Richard, Amanda, Thomas, Rachel, and Emily, sat in the parlor watching a movie. Laughter filled the room, until suddenly Emily stood up quickly, holding her stomach. "I need to use the restroom," she muttered, rushing towards the restroom. Amanda's eyes narrowed instantly. She stood, following her. As soon as she saw Emily bent over near the restroom, gasping and holding her mouth, Amanda's voice thundered, "Are you pregnant?" Emily froze. "I said, are you pregnant?" Emily looked up, eyes wide, trembling. She didn't answer. Amanda stormed in, grabbed her roughly by the arm, and dragged her back to the parlor. "Tell everyone right now," she shouted. "Who got you pregnant? Speak." Richard stood, confused. "What's going on?" "Amanda, what's this about?" "She's pregnant, Richard. Your little angel is carrying a baby." Thomas's eyes widened. Richard turned to Emily. "Is this true?" Emily's lips quivered, her heart pounded in her chest. I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know what's happening." Amanda pointed at her in disgust. "You don't know who got you pregnant? Are you that shameless?" Emily looked at the floor, her eyes brimming with tears. The room spun around her. Everyone stared, but she couldn't find the words. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to explain the nightmare she had buried deep inside. Richard's expression grew tense with worrying. Without raising his voice, he said, "Emily, come with me." He led her gently into a quiet room and closed the door behind them. The noise from the parlor faded, leaving only silence and heavy emotion. He turned to her, eyes soft but serious. "Tell me the truth. Who got you pregnant?" Emily looked down, her fingers trembling. A tear slid down her cheek. "I didn't know what to do. Daddy," she whispered. "I was coming back from my friend's house, and someone came out from behind the trees. He grabbed me. I tried to run. I begged him, but he didn't stop." Richard's face tightened, his fists slowly clenching. "He took advantage of me," she continued, voice breaking. "I didn't even know who he was. He didn't say anything. He just left me there." Richard sat beside her, his chest rising and falling with pain. "Why didn't you tell me, Emily?" "Because I was scared. I didn't think anyone would believe me. Not even you." Richard pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "I believe you. And I swear whoever did this to you will pay." As Richard held Emily close, the door creaked open. Amanda stepped in, arms folded, eyes cold. Richard looked at Emily gently. "Please go to your room. I need to speak with your stepmother." Emily nodded and walked out slowly. The moment she was gone, Amanda wasted no time. "Richard, we can't keep her here," she said firmly. "She's bringing shame into this house. What if this pregnancy is a curse? What if she ruins everything between us?" Richard's eyes narrowed. "Amanda, she's a victim. She's a stain on this family," Amanda snapped. "If you don't send her away now, this house will never know peace again." Richard stared at her in silence. The words cut deep, but something inside him had already begun to awaken. "You must do it, Richard," Amanda shouted, her voice echoing through the living room. "If you can't make tough decisions, I will." Richard sat motionless, shoulders slumped, his face buried in his palms. Guilt weighed heavily on him, but words refused to come. Amanda's eyes burned with fury. Without waiting for his permission, she stormed into Emily's room. Emily sat quietly on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling. Amanda flung open the wardrobe, yanked out a small bag, and tossed it at her. "Pack your things and get out of this house." Emily stood, stunned. "What? Please? Where would I go?" Amanda glared at her. "Go to whoever made you pregnant. You're a disgrace to this family. You're not my child, and I won't let you destroy what I've built." Emily burst into tears. She rushed to the living room, dropped to her knees in front of Richard. "Daddy, please, don't let her do this to me. I'm your daughter." Richard lifted his head slowly, eyes red. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came. He looked away. That silence shattered Emily's heart. Amanda grabbed her by the arm. "Let's go. If he won't do it, I will." Rachel and Thomas peeked from the hallway, smiling. "She's finally leaving," Rachel whispered. "Good riddance," Thomas replied. Amanda dragged Emily outside and called out, "Gate man." Open the gate and escort this girl out. She no longer lives here." The gate man hesitated. "Madam, are you sure?" "Do it," she snapped. Emily struggled. "Please, don't. I have no one else. I didn't choose this life." The gate man took her bag, opened the gate, and gently nudged her forward. "Madam said you must leave. Boss didn't stop her, so I have to obey." Emily turned to the gate, her face soaked with tears. "Please, let me back in. Tell my father I need him." The gate man shook his head. "Orders are orders." The gate shut behind her with a loud clang. Emily stood there, frozen, her bag clutched to her chest. Behind the walls of the house, no one called her name, no one came running. With one last look, she turned away, her steps slow, heavy, and painful. But deep within, something stronger than the pain was beginning to awaken. Emily walked for hours, her legs aching, her heart heavier with every step. With nowhere else to turn, she made her way to the one place she hoped still held love, her grandmother's house. When she knocked, the old wooden door creaked open. "Emily!" Grandma Rose gasped, eyes wide with shock. "What happened? Why are you here alone with a bag?" Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she collapsed into her grandmother's arms. "They threw me out? Grandma, Amanda. She forced Daddy to send me away. I begged, but he just watched." Grandma Rose held her tightly, stroking her back. "Oh, my poor child." They sat inside the dim room as Emily poured out everything, the suffering, the attack, the silence, and the betrayal. Grandma Rose sighed deeply, wiping her eyes. "Emily, since your mother passed, I've been living one day at a time. Feeding myself has been a struggle. I never wanted you to see me like this." Emily looked around. The house was worn down, the kitchen nearly empty. "I wish I could do more," Grandma continued softly, "but the truth is I can barely take care of myself. The best thing you can do now is leave town, go somewhere new, find a job, start fresh." Emily was silent for a moment. The thought scared her, but deep inside, something stronger than fear was rising. "I'll do it, Grandma," she said firmly. "I'll go. I don't want to be a burden. I want to stand on my own. I'll find a way." Her grandmother smiled weakly, her eyes filled with pride. "That's your mother's strength in you." Emily stood up, wiped her face, and looked toward the window. She didn't know where life would take her next, but for the first time, she was no longer running in fear. Weeks passed, and Emily wandered from street to street, knocking on doors, asking for any kind of work. Some ignored her. Others turned her away before she could speak. But one afternoon, as she walked past a tall glass building with tired feet and a hopeful heart, she noticed a sign, "Cleaner Wanted, Apply Within." Without hesitation, she stepped inside. The receptionist glanced at her appearance and hesitated, but handed her a simple form. Emily filled it out with shaking hands and waited. And they tell her that in few days she will receive a message of approval to come start her work. And so, Emily began her new life as a cleaner in the company. Day after day, she swept floors, emptied bins, and wiped glass doors with silent determination. No one knew her story, no one saw her pain, but behind every mop stroke and bucket of water was a girl rising from the ashes. Years had passed, and Joseph was no longer the reckless boy from the past. He had become a respected man, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Success surrounded him, cars, mansions, staff, yet something vital was missing. Every relationship he entered ended in confusion. Women left him without reason. Engagements crumbled. Happiness seemed to slip through his fingers. Deep down, he felt a hole in his soul, a haunting he couldn't escape. One night, after another failed date, Joseph fell into a restless sleep. In his dream, an old man appeared, dressed in glowing white. He stood before Joseph with eyes full of power and peace. "Joseph," the man spoke gently, "your heart remains empty because you wounded a soul that was meant to heal you. Her name is Emily, the girl you once took advantage of. She is your future, your peace. Until you find her and make things right, nothing will last in your life." Joseph jolted awake, breathing hard, sweat on his forehead. "Emily, he whispered into the darkness. He rose from bed, heart pounding. I must find her. I don't care what it takes. I need to make this right. From that moment, Joseph began searching. He traveled from city to city, asked questions, followed old trails, but every lead ended in silence. No one knew where she had gone, but Joseph refused to give up. I'll find her, he said to himself one evening, staring out of his office window, even if it takes years. I know our paths will cross again someday. And with that hope burning quietly in his heart, Joseph kept searching, not just for Emily, but for forgiveness, peace, and a second chance. Months rolled by, and Emily's strength never wavered, though life had tested her beyond words. One heartbreaking chapter came when she gave birth to a beautiful baby. But the child didn't survive. The pain was unbearable. She cried in silence for nights, holding on to the memory of the little life she had carried. Yet, despite her grief, Emily kept working hard as a cleaner in the company. She never let her sorrow show. Each day, she arrived early, mopped the floors, cleaned the glass doors, and wore a quiet smile, even when her heart felt empty. One morning, as she was cleaning the reception floor, a man in a sharp black suit walked in, flanked by two bodyguards. He moved with confidence and wealth. He turned to her and asked in a calm voice, "Excuse me, where's Mr. John's office?" She pointed, "Second floor. Last door by the right." But as she looked up, something about his face froze her heart. That face. It looked too familiar. Her hands trembled slightly. Could it be him? Was this the same man from all those years ago, the one who ruined her life and vanished? She stared at him, speechless, confused, and afraid to believe her own eyes. The man gave a small thank you and walked into the office. Emily remained still, her heart racing. Minutes later, he came out, spoke briefly with his guards, and entered a sleek black luxury car waiting at the front. The doors closed and the convoy drove off. Emily stood by the window, watching the car disappear. She didn't say a word, but her mind was screaming with questions. Could that really be him? Was fate finally bringing her past face to face with her future? Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed fixed. On the other side of town, in the grand mansion owned by Mr. Richard, Amanda had been acting strangely for weeks, sneaking around, locking herself in rooms for hours, and taking late-night calls and whispers. Richard had noticed, but love and trust had blinded him until one evening. He was on his way upstairs when he paused near the guest room. Amanda's voice leaked through the slightly open door. "No, Adam, I told you," she said coldly. "I'm not bringing the kids back to you." Richard's heart skipped a beat. Adamer who was Adam. "I don't care if you miss them," Amanda continued. "You lost the right to be their father a long time ago. Now I'm with Richard. He's a good man, and his money gives me the life I've always wanted." Richard's breath caught in his throat. He leaned closer, his palms sweating. Amanda laughed. "Let me enjoy this, okay? Just let me stay here with my kids and my millionaire. I'm not leaving this mansion for you or anyone else." Silence, then the call ended with a soft beep. Amanda walked out of the room smiling, unaware of the storm she'd just stirred. But Richard, he was already walking away, each step heavier than the last. His world shaken, his trust broken. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring into space, battling the pain stabbing through his chest. The woman he gave everything to, the woman he loved, was never his to begin with. And worst of all, the children he called his own might not be his after all. A tear slipped from his eye. Everything was starting to crumble. Meanwhile, Emily had pushed the strange encounter to the back of her mind, convincing herself it was just a look-alike, but fate had other plans. One quiet afternoon, while mopping the marble floors near the reception, she looked up and froze. It was him, the same man. He was stepping out of Mr. John's office again, adjusting his wristwatch, flanked by bodyguards. Emily's heart raced, her hands trembled. This time, she couldn't stay silent. Summoning courage, she walked up to him. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly, her voice shaking. You look like someone I once knew. Someone who..." She swallowed hard, took something from me. Joseph's eyes locked with hers. His expression shifted, first confusion, then disbelief. He stepped closer, staring at her like he was trying to remember a face from a lifetime ago. "Emily," he whispered. She flinched. "You remember me?" Joseph exhaled deeply, emotion washing over his face. "I've been searching for you for years." Emily blinked, unsure if she was hearing correctly. Joseph looked around. "Please," he said gently, "before I say anything else, come with me." She hesitated, but something in his voice felt different, sincere, heavy with guilt. He opened the door to his luxurious black SUV and motioned for her to enter. "Let me take you home. We need to talk in peace." Emily stepped in slowly, unsure of what the journey ahead would hold. But this time, it seemed fate was ready to answer some long-awaited questions. As the luxury car pulled up in front of the grand mansion, Emily remained silent, staring out the window. Her heart raced. She had no idea why Joseph brought her here. Everything felt like a dream or a setup. Joseph stepped out first and gently opened her door. "Please, just trust me," he said softly. Inside the mansion, Emily looked around, taking in the expensive furniture, shining floors, and the smell of fresh roses. It felt like another world. Suddenly, Joseph turned to her. Without warning, he dropped to his knees right in front of her. "Emily," he began, his voice trembling, "I've carried the weight of guilt for years. What I did to you, what we did, it was wrong. I was young and foolish. But you need to know, Amanda made me do it. She paid me to hurt you, to ruin your name, and I let her. I was a coward." Emily's eyes widened. Tears welled up as she clutched her hands tightly. "I've tried to move on. I've dated many women, tried to marry. But nothing lasts. It's like something is blocking my life. And then, one night, I had a dream. An old man dressed in white told me, 'You will never know peace until you find the girl you wronged. She's your wife.'" Joseph lowered his head. "Emily, I've changed. I'm no longer that reckless boy. I've built a company, grown up, become a better man. But I've never stopped thinking about you. Please, forgive me." Emily couldn't hold back anymore. She began to cry, her shoulders shaking. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she knelt beside him and whispered, "You broke me, Joseph. I suffered. I cried myself to sleep so many nights. But I won't let that pain control me anymore." She looked him in the eyes. "I forgive you." Joseph broke down in tears as he held her hands, overwhelmed with relief. For the first time in years, both of them found peace together. Meanwhile, at Richard's mansion, Richard had quietly watched Amanda's moves, piecing together the truth. The final blow came when the DNA results arrived. Neither of the children were his. His hands shook as he held the paper. Rage boiled in his chest. He stormed down the marble stairs where Amanda sat, comfortably sipping wine in the lounge. "Amanda!" he roared. Startled, Amanda turned. "What is it, darling?" Richard threw the envelope at her. "Read it." She picked it up, eyes narrowing. Her smirk vanished as she scanned the results. "You lied to me," Richard said, his voice cracking. "You let me raise another man's children, and made me throw my own daughter out of this house like trash." Amanda tried to speak. "Richard, don't say a word," he thundered, stepping forward. "You manipulated me, used me. You turned me against my blood, against Emily." Tears welled in his eyes as he pointed toward the door. "Get out of my house, now." "Richard, please. The kids." "Richard, please. The kids. Those kids are not mine," he snapped. "And you, Amanda, you're evil, cold, heartless. You never loved me. You just wanted comfort, money, power. I was nothing but your stepping stone." Amanda tried to grab his hand, but Richard shoved it away. "Take your lies and your kids out. I have nowhere to go," she screamed. "You should have thought of that before destroying my family," he shouted, dragging her suitcase to the door and flinging it open. Amanda stood frozen, then began to sob. But Richard didn't blink. With trembling hands, he opened the gate. "Go, and never come back. Amanda slowly walked out with her children, her cries echoing in the compound. Richard slammed the door shut behind her. He leaned against it, breathing heavily, his heart broken, but finally free. Months went by, and Emily's life had completely transformed. Now living in peace and luxury with Joseph, love filled every corner of their home. Joseph remained kind, supportive, and truly changed. One afternoon, as they relaxed, Joseph gently held her hand and said, "I think it's time we visit your father." Emily hesitated but nodded slowly. "Maybe it's time," she whispered. They both knew it wouldn't be easy, but healing was necessary. Together, they planned to visit Mr. Richard in a few days, not in anger, but in peace, ready to face the past and move forward as one. Meanwhile, while Amanda's life crumbled, struggling to feed her kids, regret filled her heart. The luxury she once enjoyed was gone, replaced by hardship and hunger. Left with no choice, she began to consider going back to Richard to beg for forgiveness, unsure if he'd ever accept her again. Her pride faded as desperation took over. One evening, the sun was setting gently over Mr. Richard's compound when the unexpected happened. A convoy of sleek, black cars slowly drove through the gate, escorted by security. Richard, sitting quietly on his veranda, furrowed his brows in confusion. Who could this be? He whispered to himself. He wasn't expecting anyone. Curious and a bit uneasy, he stood up and walked out of the house. The engines stopped and the doors opened. His eyes widened as he saw a familiar figure step out. Emily. "Emily," he gasped, his heart pounding. She looked elegant, graceful, nothing like the broken girl who once left his home. Tears welled in Richard's eyes as he rushed toward her. "My daughter," he cried, hugging her tightly. Emily broke down too, sobbing in his arms. "I'm so sorry for everything," Richard said through tears. "Please forgive me. I was blinded by lies. I should have protected you. I've already forgiven you, Dad," Emily whispered. Richard turned to the tall, well-dressed man standing beside her. "And who is this?" Emily smiled and held Joseph's hand. "This is Joseph," she said. "The man who once hurt me but has now changed." Richard's face darkened for a moment until Emily added, "He didn't act alone. Amanda planned it. She used him, but he's no longer the same man." Richard was silent, shocked, heartbroken, and filled with regret. The secrets were finally out, and healing had begun. As they stood in the courtyard, Emily, Joseph, and Richard sharing years of pain and reconciliation, a voice echoed from the entrance. "Richard, please." Amanda's voice trembled as she stepped into the compound, her clothes worn, her face pale with desperation. "I came to beg you. Please, let me come back. I have nowhere else to go." But she froze the moment her eyes landed on Joseph and Emily surrounded by bodyguards standing beside luxury cars. Her mouth dropped open in disbelief. "Joseph," she stammered. You're with her." Joseph turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "Yes, Amanda. I am. Surprised, aren't you?" Amanda took a step forward, confused and shaken. "But how?" Joseph's voice broke with emotion. "I'm not the same foolish man you used years ago. You sent me to destroy this woman, but instead I found love, forgiveness, and a chance to be a better man, something you never gave me." Tears streamed down Amanda's face as she dropped to her knees. "Emily, please, forgive me. Help me talk to your father. I have nothing left." Emily stepped back, eyes fierce. "Don't come near me. You're wicked, Amanda. You ruined my life and used others to do it." Richard's face turned cold. "Gateman," he called angrily. The gateman rushed forward. "Take her out of my house," Richard ordered, voice firm. "And make sure she never steps foot here again." "No, please," Amanda cried, crawling toward Richard. "Richard, I was desperate. I made mistakes." But Richard turned his back as the gateman grabbed her arms. "Emily, please," Amanda screamed, but Emily looked away, wiping her tears. Joseph whispered, "It's too late. Amanda. And just like that, the gates closed behind her. Peace, wealth, and healing filled the compound, while Amanda faded into the shadows of her past, no longer in control of anyone's story but her own. Joseph and Emily got married in a grand celebration filled with love and peace. They continued living a joyful and luxurious life together. Meanwhile, Mr. Richard found a new, kind-hearted wife he could trust. Together, they built a happy home filled with laughter and healing. Never let greed, lies, or manipulation destroy the lives of others. Truth always finds its way, and those who wait with a clean heart will be restored in due time. Thanks for watching. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories.